Hi, I'm Jenny.
Hi, I'm Nora.
Hi, I'm Moa.
Hi, I'm Marion. And this is our evaluation. We hope you enjoyed the Recluse.
The Recluse was based on inspiration of several different thrillers introductions that we watched in class. Initially, we wanted to create a stalker introduction which would consist of a female protagonist character that was being stalked and chased through a park, having no idea what was following her.
We then drew up several plans and presented them to our media teacher. We were then told that this idea was very typical and would be similar to a lot of other thriller introductions.
Before coming up with our final plan, we had several other ideas that we considered basing our introduction on, but in the end we decided on the Recluse.
Our film followed the story of a young, troubled adult who was being investigated by his psychiatrist for several brutal murders.
Okay, in what ways does your media product use, develop or challenge forms and conventions of real media products?
The most noticeable convention of a thriller would be that the sound and editing of the film itself. For example, the music we used was dark and tense, which implied a sense of fear and anxiety amongst the audience and the fitting of the genre.
Within our project, we incorporated several fast cuts at several different camera angles in order to make our introduction montage fast-paced and appealing to our audience.
The lighting within our project, however, did not reflect the genre, as typically shadows and darkness would be typical of the thriller genre. Yet when we attempted to achieve these dark, shadowy shots, we noticed that the quality of the film itself would differ profusely and would not clearly show what was happening within the scene.
For this reason, we chose to use natural lighting in order to gain a clearer quality and in order to basically concentrate more on what was going on in the scenes as opposed to what we wanted to foreshadow or imply.
How does your media product represent particular social groups?
The codes and conventions within a thriller mainly allows a female protagonist to be the victim of a dominant male character. This enables the audience to familiarise themselves with the stereotypes, as females are always vulnerable, dependable victims. However, we wanted to change this typical trait and reverse the roles by creating a male character whose fate was completely within a female's hands, and she had the power to determine his prosecution or lack of.
We chose to cast a female as a psychiatrist, as typically women are more dependent on their emotions rather than the critical thinking. We expected the psychiatrist to emphasize with our main character, as he was noticeably younger than her and he had forgone several forms of abuse and tragedies as a child.
This therefore represented the genres in a way that was not entirely typical but still predictable in numerous ways.
What kind of media institution would distribute your product and why?
We believe that owing to our film, The Recluse, the main themes of instability, suspense and mystery, the sort of studios that might be interested in distributing a similar film would be Paramount, as they have successfully distributed numerous thrillers, some containing similar traits to ours.
One of the most familiar films to ours was a thriller that they distributed was Paramount's psychological thriller Primal Fear. The film follows Edward Norton's character as young Aaron Stampler, who was accused of murdering his archbishop and was later discovered he had multiple personality disorder due to childhood abuse.
Those are all comparable key events to our own thriller: the accused murder or murders in our case, the childhood abuse, and the multiple personality disorder that our protagonist suffers from.
We think that if they can do an excellent job at selling Primal Fear, then they will be able to do the same with our thriller.
Okay, so who do you think would be the audience for your media product?
The audience targeted in mind when creating our media product, which was aimed to be a fairly dark and gritty film, would be certified an 18. Reason being is that the film's nature was to be quite complex and sinister in order to gain an older audience, which would potentially have more disposable income in order to be able to view, purchase and recommend our film.
Thematically, our film would also rely on the sort of nuances that might attract our audiences, such as mind games, psychological themes, horror, personality and obsession.
Psychological thrillers are subgenres that play with audiences' mind by manipulating a character or a plot to keep the audiences guessing.
We feel that as a group we were able to achieve this objective, as there are several elements of mystery and suspense implied within our project, as the audience is left to decipher a number of happenings.
One piece of technology that we initially found challenging to operate was the video camera we used to film with. This was due to the fact that we had no prior knowledge of how to create a film that was authentic and reflected some form of professionalism. We had to learn how to use the camera correctly, which also meant using the tripod so that our shots were steady. We also taught different techniques when filming, such as panning and tilting the camera to show more of the scene in our frames in order to give the audience a good look at the mise-en-scène.
When creating our film, we used Apple's Final Cut Express to edit our scenes together. Prior to creating our film, we had never come across the program, which meant using the program itself would be previously difficult at first. However, in order to overcome our lack of understanding towards the product, we watched several YouTube tutorials on how to cut and edit shots, as well as being taught most of the basics in class from our teacher.
Adding our voiceover to the film was exceptionally difficult to construct, as we had to use a temporary voiceover recorded with a phone due to the fact that we had to wait for a slot to open in the music studio in order to achieve a once again authentic voiceover that was suitable for the film. This posed as a problem at first, as we had problems sticking to the word timing, as we previously planned out how long it would take to say each sentence, yet when it was recorded together, it didn't quite add up. Using the music studio to record the voiceover was also a new skill which we had to learn, as once again, we had no knowledge of the technology that we had to use.
We overcame both dilemmas and managed to successfully include our voiceover into our 2-minute introduction to our thriller.
This was done through use of practice.
Looking back, what do you think you've learned in the progression from your preliminary task to the full product?
Looking back on the preliminary task, I personally learned how to make storyboards and about their importance, as the planning of the film itself was one of the longest processes that we experienced, and storyboards really help with the visualization of the product.
I learned the basics of editing and how to cut, merge and manipulate pieces of shots together properly.
I think I learned how to successfully use a camera and tripod together in order to gain shots that were both professional and stable.
Overall, I believe that we successfully overcame all of our problems that occurred during the planning, filming and editing of our 2-minute introduction to a thriller, and managed to produce a quality piece of work.